Good evening. I call to order the Monroe Public Schools Board of Education meeting. Today is June 10th, 2025, and the time is 7 p.m. Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Hutt.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mrs. Myers.
Here.
Mrs. Taurasi.
Here.
Mrs. Vincent.
Here.
Mrs. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Here. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Before we begin, as a reminder, if you wish to address the board, there are forms in the back corner that would be to your right, to my left. Please fill one out and hand them to Jamie, our administrative assistant, before we get going. Superintendent Shaw, are there any additions or deletions on the agenda this evening?
There are none, sir.
In that case, get back. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda? Do we have support?
Support.
Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Mr. Hutt.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. Superintendent comments? Superintendent Shaw?
All right. Well, if you look around the room, I know there's people on video right now. They're probably like, wow, look at all these beautiful faces. It was a remarkable graduation night here just over a week ago. For all of you here, it's not only a memorable night when it comes to our kids graduating, kids getting their diplomas at night, but it does go down as a night of, wow, let's have some wind. For full disclosure, we were looking solely at the rain. Only at the rain, nothing but the rain all the way through. And once we figured out, hey, it looks like we're gonna be able to go, never thought once about wind, and all of a sudden got out there and went, whoops. The wind has shown up. So to our students, big congratulations. So tonight we're going to be honoring our scholars from Monroe High School. And you can see we have a bunch of our scholars with us this evening. So they're going to come up in a moment to the microphone, and we've put on their scholarship name that they received. And so our students, what I'm going to have you do is you're going to give your name, where you're going after school, remember first and last name, and then if you would like to also highlight the scholarships that you received, and it's your decision if you want to share the dollar amount. But before they do that, the scholars at Monroe High School this year earned $76,800 in local scholarships. So a big congratulations to them. And as I look across this list, there's some big money right here. So big congratulations to our scholars, and hopefully great memories are being made there. And so if we could have our start right up that front row. Right here is the camera. If you're wondering, okay, who's looking at you? It's right there through there. Jamie, if you could do me a favor and grab the Kleenex box there, I'd appreciate it. So, all right. So come on up. Yep, you're gonna take the lead. Yep, congratulations. Fall in right behind her, gang. Yep, just kind of fall in right there. Keep coming, kids. Yep, keep coming. There we go. Yep. Okay. So first name, tell us your name, where you're going, what you're looking to study, and then scholarships.
Okay. Hi, my name is Caroline Wozniak. I will be attending the University of Michigan to major in public policy. And I was awarded the Earl and Elise Little Scholarship, the Mary Kay Kosa, and the Donald Packer. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Hi, my name is Brianna Turner. I already graduated. I will be going to Monroe County Community College, and I received the McIntyre Scholarship for 2000. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Allen. I will be going to Bowling Green State University, and I received the June R. Heck Scholarship.
My name is Rosalie Baker. I'm going to the University of Toledo for Criminal Justice, and I got the Windowers Scholarship and Little Eloise Scholarship.
Thank you.
My name is Alexandra Butler. I'm going to the community college for early childhood education, and I got the Mary Kay Kosa and the Noseworthy scholarships.
Hi, my name is Bella Arnold. I got the Earl and Elise Little Scholarship, Graceful Memory Scholarship, and Mary Kay Kosa, and I'm going to Saginaw Valley for OT.
Devin Brassi. I'm going to Owens Community College, and I received the Custer Scholarship.
My name's Jack Drugel. I'm going to U of M for physics, and I got the Earl and Elsie Little Scholarship, the Equinox Scholarship, Mary Kay Kosa, and Anthony Polizzi.
Hello, my name is Reggie Geftos. I'm going to MSU. Go Green.
Thank you.
I'm going for veterinary medicine, and I got the Equinox Scholarship, the Mary Kay Kosa Scholarship, and the Earl and Elsie Scholarship.
My name is Avery Leach. I'm going to the University of Toledo for health sciences. And I got the Mary Kay Kosa and Earl and Elsie Little Scholarship.
Hello, my name is Nathan Jones. I am going to Monroe County Community College for chemistry, and I got the Earl and Elsie Little Scholarship, the Matthew Gertz Scholarship, and the Horvath Scholarship.
Last but not least, Sam Miller. My name is Sam Miller, and I got the Custer Scholarship, Equinox Scholarship, Mary Kay Kosa Scholarship, and Custer Scholarship. It's listed twice. And I'm going to Bowling Green State University for accounting and finance.
So, parents, thank you. Great job. I know it's a lot of work. Students, we wish you the best, even to our two that are going to U of M. Go blue. You know, we still, it's important to throw that out there. But I will also add this. I truly appreciate your level of courageousness. I know some of you guys are going a ways away, and that'll be a big step to East Lansing, Saginaw Valley. You know, those are some distances right there. And but know that Monroe is home, and we're here for you. So again, big round of applause to our scholars, and great job. So like I said, parents and students, you're more than welcome to stay, or you can skedaddle. That's your call. Looks like a sprint out.
Run. We give a few minutes for that.
Absolutely.
Yes. So while they're stepping out, I do have one other award to hand out, and it's Award of Distinction, Certificate of Achievement, and that goes to Board Member Mary Vincent from Monroe Public Schools here for MASB. She has received the Level 3 Award of Distinction. It is awarded upon completion of certification levels 1 and 2. And these are for 400, 200, or 300 level classes, and a minimum of 208 education credits. So Mary Vincent, congratulations on that. And
We get time for a speech?
Nope.
All right.
And we got a lot going on tonight. A lot. So in our workshop, which always, the workshops are always open to everyone to take part in, we had Jackie and Andrew talking about PBIS. And now we've got them back in here because they're going to talk more about the restorative practices. So Jackie and Andrew, if you want to bring your team up and go to into the presentation, that'd be wonderful.
So Liv Kleino is actually going to kick us off this evening, and then you'll notice at one point we are going to utilize video for Ronnie Motika's portion. He is moving, and he is at the mercy of the moving process. So he wanted to be here and planned to be here, but due to those constraints, we have a video. So Liv, you want to go?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, my name's Libby Kleino. I work at, I touched a thing. I work at Arborwood, my bad. And I was asked to just give a brief overview of the origins of restorative practice. So that's what you're going to get. And it's brief because it's a 2-day training. They're like 8-hour days. So this is going to be short and sweet. So restorative practice has a lot of definitions, and I got this one from Terry O'Connell. He came up with the restorative questions, the what happened, what were you thinking of at the time. If you've ever been in the buildings, I'm sure you've seen those. And I asked him how he would define it. So he defines it as a way of being and relating to the world around us. So contrary to popular belief, restorative practice is not an intervention or a program. It's not something we use when things go wrong. It's actually the plate. So it's the way we do social emotional learning. It's the way we do our math lessons, our science lessons. It's the way we do our clubs and our professional developments. And just so you know, I'm sure you're aware, but restorative practice came to schools because in August of 2017, Michigan legislation passed a law that said you have to consider restorative practice before suspending or expelling a student. So that's how we all got our jobs here in the schools today. And just to kind of give you an overview of the college level, colleges are also on the restorative train. Michigan State and U of M do what's called an Inside Out program. That's the program I was in. That's kind of how I got in this role, where men and women who are incarcerated learn alongside students, and they're both working for college credits. We talk about all of life's problems and different perspectives, and it's a really awesome program. New York University is training their students on how to build community, not just in schools, but in every career. And then Princeton is doing some negotiation and mediation training for their students as well. And the list is really long, but I just wanted to highlight 3 of them. So in restorative practice, we have what's called a continuum. If you look up there, it's kind of small, but so we have affective statements, affective questions, small impromptu conferences, circles, and formal conferences. So it's a continuum and it's fluid. So you can move back and forth on it. It's not a step-by-step process, but we wanted to highlight this because it fits perfectly into our multi-tiered systems of support, because any of those tools can be used at any of the tier levels. We see a lot of circles at tier level 1, and you'll kind of see those in the video that's coming up next too. So I had to try to figure out how to explain restorative practice, and I thought what a better way to explain it than to hear it from the staff and students who participate and do it every single day. So in the video, you'll see some staff from Arborwood and some from Custer, and you'll see students from both as well. Mike Mead is our SRC monitor, and he was so kind as to put this beautiful video together. If you've ever seen any of the videos he's made, they're phenomenal. So thank you for my time, and I'll play the video for you. Do I have to do anything for the volume? Okay.
You should be good.
How would you describe what I do?
Ms. Levy's job here is for support and to help other students.
Like stuff doing at home to teach kids feelings. Because you're like the feeling teacher.
Is just helping teachers and students with social emotional needs and anything that comes up, and conflict resolution.
Helping when there's like conflict within students.
Social emotional skills to the kiddos and to the adults. We teach problem solving skills.
You're helping kids process their thoughts, their emotions, and you're also helping kind of fix any harm or wrongdoing that they might have towards each other.
What are circles?
So in my opinion, circles are a time where we can come together and connect with each other on different topics.
Type of tool to create a community within the classroom.
So you had the students check in. You asked how their day was, how they're feeling.
We talk about bullying. They're like fun circles, like see how your day doing. Only you talk when you have the talking stick.
Would bring an item like a squishy toy or baton and pass it around, and there's things called Share the Air where you get to share about what you did over the weekend.
You had them watch a video about anger, kind of explained what anger is and how it's okay to feel that way, but then you also give them tools and tricks and tips to kind of help control that anger.
How did you feel when we did group circles for the first time?
Not another icebreaker, right? Not another icebreaker, but it is far more than that.
I felt good. It had all our drama went away, and we started getting all close, and we just started having fun. But last year I was like, why are we doing this, and what's the reason?
It just felt a little weird for me because we're not usually placed in that student role. But at the end, like, even though I felt uncomfortable during it, I saw the value because I was like, well, now I can take this to my classroom and I know like what to expect.
When you participate with your colleagues in a situation where everybody feels uncomfortable, you get the true sense of how people feel, and it brings a camaraderie together.
What is one circle you really like that stood out to you and why?
Sadness, because everybody had like a lot of questions and stuff.
I thought it was really fun, like doing competition with the competing against other people. I remember when I was really good in one circle and Miss Lee put me on the hallway and congratulated. She was like, I love how quiet you were.
You're sharing things that the reason why we're not friends and stuff, and then it just brought us back together.
The bias and the different types of biases that we unintentionally put on people, and it was really incredibly eye-opening.
What is one thing you learned about someone in circle?
I feel like in circles, I find more about their home life,
I learned how Eli said he played football.
whether they have to travel between mom and dad's house, or whether they have a sibling. Do they generally get along with their siblings? What kinds of things do they even do on the weekends?
I think it was talking about how someone broke into his house. I think he shared that at the circle, and I probably would have known that if he shared that.
Do you think our schools need circles?
Absolutely.
They're valuable and needed.
Yeah, I think they're fun. I like when you come in here. But I would say that most people would probably like to meet with you and see them in their classroom.
I think it gives someone, people to talk to someone if they're going through something.
It gives you a time to all talk about like emotional stuff too, and how to handle when things come up, or how to process different things that are happening in the classroom.
Have you ever been a part of a restorative conversation?
I have. I've done multiple restorative conversations with staff, and then with students and staff, and then also by myself as well with just students.
One student in particular, that we had an incident where he shoved me into a bookshelf, and I was fine. But when he came back, we were both able to sit down with Miss Lippy and just be real and honest.
It really breaks down the problem, and it shows both sides of the situation of the offender or the victim, and it really brings light onto who and what feels what at that time.
When I have them, it takes a lot of like questioning to get them to even share. Initially they're just like, I don't know, like they want to shut down. But after I kind of keep going with the conversation and share, okay, well, when you do this, it makes me feel this way. So they do end up sharing, which is helpful.
I was really surprised about the openness in the student, like how the student was willing to say why they did what they did and how they felt in that moment. And we were able to come to a resolution and be ready to go back into the classroom. And I think that was so powerful. And I think that that's my favorite part about restorative.
All right. Hi, I'm Erin Shrewsbury. I am the RPC at currently at the middle school and at Orchard Center High School. Next year, I will just be full-time at Orchard Center. And I'm going to talk about what I did with restorative practices at the middle school and Orchard this year. So at the middle school, I really focused on the 5 R's of restorative practices: relationships, respect, responsibility, and repair. And then the fifth one is reintegration. And the one that I wanted to talk a little bit about was the reintegration. After I would meet with students who had been in a conflict of some sort, I this year made sure that they had some time to reintegrate in my room before sending them back into the classroom. Some of the ways that I did that sometimes it was just a simple conversation after we resolved things. I did have a mini hoop in my room that the kids loved playing on, and giant Jenga and some different card games. So nothing like crazy or big, but just something that would give them 5 or 10 minutes to realize that like they're okay with that person, even though they just had a conflict. And then I would also try to be very proactive with students coming to me and saying, hey, I heard that so-and-so might be, the word on the street type of thing, or the deans or the principals would come to me and give me a heads up for things that they were hearing might be brewing. And so I would try to intervene prior to that conflict happening to kind of head off, any further issues. And then that is our beautiful Miss Renee Hoskins there, who reopened our PBIS school store this year that the students were able to visit every day throughout the school year and use their Pride Bucks that they earned by doing, various positive things during the day. Over at Orchard, I really focused on building positive relationships, student-to-student relationships, as well as student-to-teacher and staff relationships. Some of the ways that we did that was we worked in daily community building circles, like the ones that you just saw in the video. They have a homeroom period each day that they call Nights United, KU. And so during that time, I created a slideshow starting, I don't know, maybe in about January and on, created a daily slideshow for the teachers to use. And each day kind of focused on a different theme. Mondays was like a motivational type of thing. Tuesdays was Trails Tuesday, or some sort of SEL lesson. Wednesday was various things. Thursdays were like future planning using Zello, as well as future planning lessons. And then Fridays were like Fun Fridays, where they would do some team building things and games and things like that. Some other things that we did throughout the year was I took like some national holidays and kind of ran with them and got some community places involved. Tim Hortons donated some cocoa for us for a hot cocoa day. Panera donated bagels on National Bagel Day for us, for like the whole school. IHOP donated pancakes. We had ice cream for breakfast on National Ice Cream for Breakfast Day. Kids were like, their minds were blown when they came in. We were like, we're having ice cream for breakfast? And I'm like, yeah, it's, they just couldn't believe it. And then at Christmas time, there are some pictures there too of those things. But at Christmas time, we did like some whole school team building games in the gym that they had a blast doing. And then we also got them out into the community several times this year. Here's a couple examples. At Christmas time, I took a group of students and we delivered handmade Christmas cards to the Lutheran home residents and played some games with them. And then for Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, I taught a group of students how to make homemade banana bread. It's really cool at Orchard. If you've never been there, one of the rooms has like an oven and everything. So like you can actually cook there. And I love to bake. So I taught them how to make banana bread and brownies and cookies from scratch. And then we delivered them and we got a tour of the sheriff's and the police station as well when we did that. So those are just a few of the things that I've been working on with my kiddos.
Be playing the role of Ron Motika this evening.
New focus at MHS is reimagining our system for addressing minor behaviors that involve a comprehensive learning component that works to provide accountability along with the change in behavior. We have created a completely virtual system through Canvas, which provides students with an opportunity to reflect, learn, and plan for the future when dealing with behavioral issues. These behavior modules also provide quick and efficient feedback to teachers, administrators, and parents. The goal of our modules is to promote learning and change within our students so they can remain in the learning environment. We have identified 6 common behaviors among our student body in which we believe these modules will make a positive impact: bullying, cell phone misuse, conflict management, disrespect, insubordination, disruption, discrimination, parties, skipping. Students simply receive a link to the class, sign up for a free Canvas account, then begin the instruction. Each module follows the same format, which we will explore next. The informational module is composed of a video and reading component. The aim is to provide context to how the negative behavior affects the individual student as well as those around them. The informational module is meant to teach students a better way to handle themselves in future situations. After students complete the informational module, they create a discussion board post from what they have learned by answering guided questions related to the video and reading. Their posts are anonymous and can be viewed by other students taking the class. Students are asked to reply to others' posts in order for the students to gain new perspectives about what they have learned. The next module, scenario-based learning, provides 2 real-life examples in which students can take the information they have learned and apply it to real-world problems. Students are asked a set of questions to help guide their thinking. In the next module, students are asked to create a future behavior plan. As part of the behavior plan, students are asked the following questions. Describe the specific behavior that led you to complete this module. What impact did your behavior have on others? What consequences did you face as a result of this behavior? What situations, emotions, or people tend to trigger this behavior? List 3 positive ways you can respond instead of engaging in the behavior. List 2 strategies you can use to calm down or refocus when feeling triggered. In the next module, students are asked to write an email to the affected party as part of our restorative approach. Students take responsibility for their actions and acknowledge how their behavior has affected those around them. The email is sent to the appropriate assistant principal and restorative practice coordinator. If the AP feels the letter is adequate and shows remorse for their actions, it is then sent to the affected party. This portion of the module does not take the place of any face-to-face meetings between students. These still occur regularly, depending on the situation. The final module is the parent reflection and commitment letter. Students complete a reflection based on the future behavior plan they have created. The letter is printed out and sent home to the parents. The parent or guardian will read and discuss with their child. The parent or guardian will briefly describe how they can support their child from home. The letter is signed and brought back to the appropriate assistant principal.
Twice in a couple months. Lucky you guys, huh? So I'm Darren Poach, Restorative Practice Coordinator at Raisonville Elementary. My portion tonight is to speak to you on social emotional learning and how it's connected to this world of restorative practices. So I could bore you with the fancy definition, which you can read on your own. But what I'd like you to really focus on is the second bullet point, building of soft skills. Social emotional learning is essentially the opposite of academic learning. When students are in classrooms and learning the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, they also need interpersonal skill building. How do we get along with our friends? How do we pay attention in class? How do we regulate our emotions? How do we make friends? How do we fix things with our friends when they're broken? How do we come to a board meeting and behave ourselves so it can function? How do we act in society? How do we manage ourselves? Social emotional learning teaches these soft skills. I'm sure nobody is going to be surprised by the fact that we're losing this through screens. And our children are engaging in front of screens and typing and talking and texting. And we're losing the face-to-face that those of us who are as old and gray as me are used to interacting with people. And the SEL program at Monroe Public Schools seeks to bring kids back to this idea of learning how to be a community, how to interact with each other, how to share information together. Because without that, we can't have school. And We all want academic success for our children, but children cannot learn unless they feel happy and safe. And so when we teach our children social emotional learning and skills, we're teaching them how to interact and be together in a classroom, to share space and be a family. And the other bullet points there are there for you to read. But this is basically, how do I manage myself? And how do I interact with my peers and my teachers and my friends and my family and my community when I walk out of the schoolhouse and go home for the summer? So a few small pieces. In March, I obtained my master's degree in social emotional learning. And during my studies, this organization, CASEL, was a part of all of our work. There are lots of social emotional learning theories out there. And CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, has created what in the SEL world is considered the gold standard SEL theory. And they created what are called the 5 CASEL competencies. And this is the core of social emotional learning and also the core of our most recent adopted program, TRAILS, that I'll speak briefly a little bit before I stop. And so this is really the model when you're wondering, well, what are we teaching the kids? Well, we're teaching them these 5 competencies. And if you take a look at the next slide, you can see them in more detail. The first one is self-awareness, probably the most important of the 5 and the hardest to obtain. When we have self-awareness, we understand more about who we are, why we do the things we do, what makes us tick. Self-awareness allows us for accountability. It allows us to say, yeah, that was me. This is what I'm doing well. This is what I'm not doing well. And here's what I'm going to do to fix it. This is a very difficult skill to teach. And part of our TRAILS program has lessons on self-awareness. It was one of the coolest things I've done as an educator. As part of my master's, I did a self-awareness study with Jen Sales' 5th grade students. And we spent the whole month of October together actually learning about self-awareness. And it was really neat to watch the kids engage in this way of thinking, to learn about themselves and what is it about them that dictates how they interact with their peers and in society. So the second one is self-management, really self-explanatory. How do you regulate yourself? How do you keep your body under control? How do you keep what you are saying to people under control? How do you manage that? How do you regulate that? So if you take a look at that chart, these first 2 are what we call inner competencies. So these are the things that we give for ourselves. And then the next 2 are what we would call outer competencies. And these are skills we give to the outside world. So social awareness is about the ability to be able to interact with the world around you and appreciate and understand that people are different than you. It's the ability to understand and learn that there are different cultures and beliefs and languages and people. And I can not only engage with those people, but I can accept those people. Social awareness also promotes the understanding of how do I go out in the community and follow rules? How do I know that the rules here at the board meeting might be different than the rules at the playground? Or if I go to the restaurant, maybe the rules at Buffalo Wild Wings are different than the rules at a very fancy restaurant that I go with my friends. And so social awareness helps people learn how to differentiate the rules in society and how to follow them. Relationship skills, very simple. How do we make and keep friends? How do we get along with our family? How do we build those relationships? How do we fix them when they break and use restorative practice techniques to do that? So then the final one is for ourselves and for others. Responsible decision making. How do we make decisions? How do we make helpful decisions instead of harmful decisions? These are the core 5 social emotional learning skills that make up the core of our adopted TRAILS program. So if you take a look at the next slide, I have taught every single one of these except one. And it takes you on a little journey on where we've been in social emotional learning. We started dipping our toe in the water in this about 10 years ago. And the first work started with the Mind Up curriculum. And we adopted that curriculum to help teach children about their brains, where their emotions come from, also the part of their brain that helps regulate them. And the Mind Up curriculum started with that. I teach most of these still at Raisinville as part of what we do, and our students get a little bit of everything. Mr. Hopper wanted us to adopt zones of regulation. This is a program that allows kids to identify zones and emotions by color. And so instead of being, if they can't say I'm angry, they could say I'm in the red zone. If they're nervous, they could say I'm in the yellow zone. So we teach kids how to name emotions by using color and how to manage themselves in the zones. Conscious discipline used at Waterloo prior to the school closing, so I got a lot of experience in that. That program teaches what are called the five, I can't remember now. I've been reading this for 3 years and now I can't remember it in front of you guys. There are 5 skills connected to conscious discipline that are the foundation of that program. You've heard about PBIS. We talked a little bit about Dan Newby the last time I was here visiting you folks. Leader in Me was adopted in Manor about 10 years ago, and it has the 7 habits, which is the framework of that particular program. And then you see Trails. Trails was actually created at the University of Michigan, and it began here in Michigan and a little bit in Colorado. And Trails has 25 units of 25 lessons divided into 5 units of instruction. Each unit is one of those. So there's a unit on self-awareness and 5 lessons about that, a unit on self-management and 5 lessons about that, and so on and so on and so on. The hope, I mean, we don't want to get rid of this because it's good stuff, but as we continue to move forward, I think the goal is start dialing in as much on Trails as we can. The challenge is who's going to teach it and when are they going to teach it? You need a certain level of expertise to do this. And we are challenged sometimes with, we put this on the lap of the classroom teacher and maybe they don't necessarily have the skill set to do it. I do. And so I took this on at my school. I did some surveys with all of the schools to kind of find out where are you with Trails, where are you in social emotional learning. I got a lot of great data out of that. Would be interested to sit down with you guys and share that at some point in time. But I am crazy passionate about this, and I believe it helps kids. And when kids are happy and kids are safe, kids are going to learn. And so many situations now, they're not getting this at home, and there's not someone there to provide that foundation, so we fill the gaps. And the hope is to keep moving forward with this and continue the integration of social emotional learning into everything that we do. These are some of our social emotional learning strategies. Some of these you've already heard about. You can spend some time reading through your packet and reading those. There's nothing worse than having someone do a slide presentation and read the slides to you out loud. So I'll let you read those on your own. And the final piece to this is the who. And if you have a great climate and culture, it's everybody. And you send the message from the principal on down. This is what we are, and this is who we are, and this is what we do. And every single stakeholder that is an adult is part of the social emotional network of people. So in a nutshell, I could stand up here and talk to you about this for days, but this is just an introduction. And if you have any questions or wonderings about this, you are always free to contact me. Be more than happy to sit down with you and talk about this in greater detail, as I truly, truly believe in this work and what it does for kids.
So again, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm Jackie Lenderman. I'm the elementary PBIS coordinator.
I'm Andrew Huppert. I'm the secondary PBIS coordinator.
So we wanted to kind of just tie this together for you guys this evening. I know that Andrew and I presented to the board some data earlier, and we just wanted to be able to give you that 30,000-foot view of what really goes into being able to pull those kind of achievement numbers. So in 2014, there was a model that was put out that was really a collaboration by the CDC and the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. And it's referred to as the WISC model, but it stands for the whole school, whole child, whole community. And the idea behind this visual is that it really helps schools to plan and coordinate their educational efforts. It underscores the importance of just collaboration between schools and families and communities. And it really emphasizes that students are more than just learners, and that supporting their physical, mental and emotional well-being is really key to their academic success. So when you look at that model, and the next slide will break it down a little bit too, but when you look at that model, you'll see it is actually aligned with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which, if you're unfamiliar with, is a framework that was developed by an American psychologist, and it addresses human motivation and just readiness to learn and how we get to maximum potential. So the idea being, when a lower need is met, then humans can kind of shift their motivation to achieving the next higher need. And once we are able to have all of our needs met, that's when we can really maximize our potential. And that's important to understand because the WISC model is aligned to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and again, is supported by the state of Michigan. So you can kind of see the connection there. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but within that inner green circle, and where that connects to Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
So then when we think about everything that we've talked about today, everything we've talked about from the data to each of our restorative practice coordinators and their presentations, we're hitting it from every single angle. When we look at all the 10 components on the outside and the 5 components on the inside, they're aligned with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Our social emotional programming in Monroe Public Schools is trying to challenge students, make sure they're feeling safe, supported, healthy, regulated, and ready to go. It's an entirely interconnected web of supports, making sure that students are both proactively supported and reactively supported in those moments when those challenges are met. When we think about the idea of a community being whole and healthy, it must be based on people's love and concern for each other. And that starts at school, and that starts young, and that's what us, through the restorative practice team, through all the wonderful people that you've heard talk today, and our entire social emotional team, and everybody, like Darren said, from administrators to bus drivers and everywhere in between, we're all here, part of that team.
Big thank you to our team tonight.
Thank you for all the time and energy you put into your presentation. I think it would be a fabulous idea to have a work session dedicated to understanding and delving more into what you do, answer a bunch of questions, because I'm writing questions as we're talking and correlating what you had said with what you had said. So I think that would be a great idea to get that on a work session.
Not a problem.
We will be there.
So also in your board packet, do pull this out. It's at the back of your section underneath the board meeting. So make sure you take that with you next. That was a well done presentation. So before our team goes anywhere though, I just wanted to also just state a huge thank you for that work. We talked in our prior meeting beforehand about the idea of buying minutes back into the classroom and for the academic side, but also we do want our classrooms and our buildings to be safe and enjoyable, and our kids to know that they're taken care of. And so to our team, and I know it's some big work you've been doing, but boy, oh boy, can we see the results. So thank you for all that you do. And I think, yes, that is all I have for the first round.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Shaw. Public commentary for board agenda items only. Do we have any, Carrie? Okay.
You're familiar with this process? Oh, I certainly am. Okay, I had 2 questions, but maybe one will be answered later, so I'll just stick to the first one. Concerning all of our information tonight on the PBIS program and all of that stuff, my wonder is if there's a correlation between student achievement and behavioral problems. I would kind of assume there is, and my concern is always if our high achievers are working on these programs, do they get bored? It sounds like it's a pretty extensive program and certainly helpful to most kids. especially in today's culture. But I'm just wondering if they've ever done any statistics on the relationships between high achievers and behavior. And what else? I guess basically that's my question.
Okay.
And then my second question, I'll wait and see if it's discussed in that upcoming discussion. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. Any others, Carrie? No. Okay, very good. Next is going to be our contracted services and resignations report. Is there any discussion on that tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board members would like to have removed from the consent agenda and moved to new business? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I approve that we move to approve the consent agenda item as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0. So next on our agenda is new business. Bef-
Yeah, we got staffing.
Staffing, oh, I thought this,
We got lots of new staff here tonight.
okay, oh, you want to okay,
Yes.
sorry. So I guess if there is any of the new staff and hires, could you please identify yourself and come up and speak a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Kaylin Shook. I teach third grade at Manor, and I will be at Waterloo next year. I'm excited to be done with my schooling and be like an official teacher this year.
Thank you. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you're up, Jeremy.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Griffin. I am just finishing up my 19th year at Triumph Academy, and I am super excited about joining Arborwood 5-6 building next year.
In your dad's old building.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you.
Oh, is it? They're all teachers?
Yeah, principal, well, teachers, principals.
Hi, my name is Mokwanjalon Antry. I taught at Detroit School District for 7 years. Then I stopped teaching in 2023, and now I'm teaching now at Monroe High School, well, Monroe 5-6 building. I think that's what they're going to call it. Yeah. So I'll be their Generation E teacher. So.
Welcome aboard.
Congratulations. All right. Well, big congratulations to our new hires. Especially, I love it. People coming in with experience.
Yeah.
Well done, administrators. Well done. So thank you. And before you three leave, Wendy right here will not let you get out the door without a picture together. So you can do it whenever you need to. Just don't let them get out the door, Wendy, which I'm confident you won't. So she won't. So congratulations to all of our new staff.
Yep. Okay, now we will move into new business. Want to provide some background and context to our agenda items. All the items on our new business agenda have been discussed in depth at prior work sessions or addressed in our weekly board briefs. So,
Most of them.
what's that?
Most of them.
Most.
Most of them.
So although we'll go through these and vote on these quickly, they have been thoroughly discussed. And as Andy had said earlier, everyone is welcome to attend our work sessions and see that discussion in person. Next, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Flynn for staffing recommendations.
Thank you, President Peck. Tonight, we're asking the board to move to approve the appointment of Larry Zimmerman into a classification 1.0 skilled trade position with Monroe Public Schools effective June 30th, 2025, in place of the appropriate salary schedule as contained in the master agreement and upon completion of all pre-employment requirements.
I'll make that motion. Although I'm very sad to lose Larry as a board member, I will move to approve the appointment of Larry Zimmerman into the classification 1.0 skilled trades position, as stated.
Do we have support?
I'll support.
Any discussion? I, as well, will miss Larry from the school board, having been sitting next to you for quite a while.
So
I've been
maybe,
on the board 6 years.
so maybe we should explain to everybody, like, what's happening,
Yeah,
because
they need to speak.
conversations are happening. Maybe explain to everybody what's happening upon this vote, because Larry's sitting on the board and we're voting a board member into a school position, so might need some clarification out there.
So Larry will be, should the board vote to bring him into the Board of into this position, he will then immediately resign from the Board of Education because you can't hold both seats. And at that point in time, the board will go through and will go through the process of how to appoint that next board member there. And as such, though, because of the recommendation too, Larry would have to abstain from that vote.
And the reason it's not on the consent
wouldn't abstain.
agenda,
He
as
wouldn't
most
be
of
on
the
the
staffing
board.
recommendations are,
He wouldn't
is
be on the
because he's a
board,
board
so
member.
there would be no
He's
abstention.
completely done all of the interview process that anyone else would have in
Absolutely.
the application process.
I'm thrilled for you. I
Any-
mean that.
Sorry to see you go, Larry. Haven't left yet. You guys got to vote me on first.
We have to give him, so maybe we'll save that for part two.
There
Part
you go.
two. We'll save that for part two.
If there's no further discussion, Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Zimmerman. You have
I
to
abstain.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0.
All right, well, at this point, I will say, because of our board policy, I will be stepping down immediately. It's been an honor to serve with everybody on this board. I'd like to publicly thank my wife. She's done a lot. She's done a lot for me, a lot of support. I do think when you replace me, I think we need some diversity on this board, and I hope that's taken into consideration. That's all I've got.
All right. So big congratulations. So we do have a plaque for Larry.
Now you have to get us all.
We'll be seeing you around.
Oh, yeah.
Larry, how many years of service did you put on the Monroe Public Schools Board?
6 years.
6 years of service. Should I hug you? I'm not a hugging person, I'm sorry. I don't know how to do these things.
Also,
Like, how do we do this? Is this
in his
right?
6 years, Larry was president of the school board for 2 years. So recognize that. Thank you, Larry.
So, thank you very much, Larry. So the process that the Board of Education will now have to go through is it's a 30 days from the date of the resignation, a new board member has to be named. If the Board of Education within that 30 days cannot name a new board member, then it would go to the ISD to name that person. I have met, Tom and I have met and talked about it, and we're providing the board right now a timeline of how everything can look. What's interesting about our timeline is the 4th of July falls in that scope. People with vacations and all this kind of stuff. And so tomorrow, publications will go out through email, and about announcing the vacancy. We'll be putting it in the new Monroe News, news release. We put in the Monroe News about this. So lots of work tomorrow. The deadline, the proposed deadline would be Tuesday. I'm sorry. Oh, so board members, what we will need from you, it's in your packet, are 3 questions, okay, to select for the board interviews that will be held. Understand though, due to time, only 1 question from each board member will be asked. We want you to give 3. We did provide you in there though, the questions that have been asked, we have had since I've been here, 3 board members appointed, so there's been questions have been asked in the past, so we put those in your packet. So please, before 4 o'clock on the 17th, let Jamie know which questions you would like to see asked there.
We can ask our own, right? We can choose our own.
Yeah, you can write,
question.
you can write out a question.
Okay.
Yep, you can write out a question. We provided you ones from MASB, Michigan School Association of School Boards, but yes, if you have your own question.
Yeah, it's specific to our board, not
Yep,
just
nope,
boards in general.
you can create one. Friday, June 20th, and this is the key. Friday, June 20th at 3 o'clock is the deadline, would be the deadline for applicants to submit letters of interest. The simple letter of interest. It's not, you don't have to go any further than just I'm describing that you're interested in this position. On Monday, June the 23rd at 5:30, the Board of Education would conduct the interviews of those candidates that wish to be interviewed. That Friday before, board members, you would receive all the packets, so you know who is applied and you see their letters. And that same night on Monday, the 23rd, the Board of Education would make that appointment, and we would swear in that new board member that night on the 23rd, and then their first, the next night, we have our regular board meeting that's in session. Again, reason why, if we start to look at it, July 11th, if you go to the 30-day marker, you're now really getting into the 4th of July time period where people, over that 2-week period, we got people that might be applying for the seat that are gonna be on a vacation or even the week after. So that's why we put it in, recommend this to you. And so, Mr. President, I'm leaving that for any discussion now, but that's kind of like the original kind of synopsis there for you.
Okay. Any discussion from board members on this schedule?
How is the notification going out? I mean,
So notification will be, as we listed right here for you. It'll be done through our social media feeds, it'll be done through through the newspaper, it'll be done through our weekend review, it'll be done through email to families. Those are the primary modes that we
yeah,
have for.
I'm just thinking outside of the school system,
It's-
so it's reaching community in a bit broader
Newspaper
way.
And it's Facebook. Those are, and honestly, those are the only 2 modes we have.
Right.
Really to get out to the community.
Thought maybe you got something else.
Nope.
So I mean, on our website as well?
It'll be on our website, there too. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the board members? Hearing none, we will move on to the next agenda item. Superintendent Shaw?
Okay, so I appreciate that, sir. Administration moves to recommend to approve the contract with Attachment K, Service Extension and Addendum between METS, Michigan Education and Transportation Services Incorporated, and Monroe Public Schools for July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. As we've shared many times, the work that we do with METS in our transportation department is working really, really well.
Okay, just trying to find that right now. Whereabouts is that in our packet here?
So it
It's a
is
big
on
packet
page
today.
47. Oh, no, it's food service, going back. Page 43, sir.
40.
42.
Okay, let's get there. Okay. Do we have a motion regarding the Mets, extension of the Mets contract?
I'll move to approve the contract attachment K for the METS transportation contract for July 1st of this year through June of 26, June 30th of 26.
Do we have support?
Support.
Board member comments, questions?
I just wanted to refer to the board meeting we had on May 12th, which I believe was the last time we talked about, or maybe the only time we talked about the extension, or at least the last time we talked about it. And on that, we talked about the anticipated cost of the service fee increase and the potential wage adjustments. Was there any response back on that? Because if you look in the minutes, those were the questions and comments.
For May
You said it would be a modest cost, but the final numbers would depend on how many drivers advance to the new tier. Do we ever find out how many drivers advance to the new tier, or? Because I think that was very significant in the
Right.
determination on what is the exact increase that we're looking at in the cost of the contract.
Yeah, so the cost of the contract, so you're giving your employees that are going from tier 4 to tier 5 a 50 cent an hour increase. Again, as far as to be able to calculate for you the number of hours that that person will drive, it varies anywhere from 4 to 6 hours a day. So that, to be able to say to you, okay, I know for a fact that we have 10 drivers and how many hours a week they're gonna drive.
It was into the new tier. How many
That's what
people got
I'm
into
saying
the
right
new
here is that
tier?
You have tier 5, where your school bus, like the monitor's got a 50 cent an hour increase. So that would be, to be able to tell you explicitly how many hours that person would drive or be a part of that, just like the driver. It's more that that next tier is just that we have people that have that longevity in our system. And that's why it's being presented. If we didn't have anyone that had 5 years as a monitor or 4 years as a the van driver or 6 years as a driver, we wouldn't even be having it on there. But fortunately, we finally do.
Yeah, I just asked the question because it came up last time and it's related to cost. And when we look at contracts, we also have to look at the cost and the financial aspect on it. And I just know those were things that were of question at the time because it does change.
I'm sorry,
The
I thought
end.
during that meeting, the bigger question was around the service fee. I remember
That was part of it.
Specifically, and when we
Yeah, that was part
calculated
of
it was
it.
like $6,500 or $6,800 of an increase on the service fee. But I'm sorry, I do not have that answer for you to tell you how many drivers are going to be on that, for example, going from tier 5 to tier 6, and to tell you how many hours they drive a day, because
It's
each driver
just,
varies.
it's just an understanding, you know me, I want to know why I'm voting the way I'm voting to support it. And I went back and looked and I was like, oh, those were the kind of questions and things we brought up. And I didn't recall if we, sometimes I forget, if we had a discussion on that and a follow-up on that and what would be the impact on the overall contract. So that was my question related to the last topic.
As I understand it, part of the intent here is to hopefully retain drivers, so.
Right.
Giving them a little bit more as they get more years.
Right.
Helps us tremendously.
It does, but that's why I said it's,
Yeah.
to
But
be
it's
able
not
to,
only based on years, is it?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, it's totally based on years. And that's why I said to be able to get to that hard number of how many drivers, but then we got to calculate out the number of hours, because each driver, there's a
Yeah.
big variance.
Yeah, because we were talking about all the extra transportation needs that we're putting out there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah,
Because
but-
that'll play an
but-
impact as
but you have
well.
some drivers that might only have 4 hours a day of regular bus driving, where another driver could have 5, another driver could even have 6.
Yeah,
Without extra trips.
Yeah, it's just the increase in transportation in general will increase cost naturally.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, any other board comments?
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
just pulled up Mrs. McKelvey's spreadsheet and I'm trying to see how many currently are already at tier 5. If you give me just 1 minute,
We can.
I can at least provide you with that information. Looks like we currently have 3 active drivers that are on tier 5.
Oh, that's
So
it?
would be 3 people moving up to tier
Okay.
6. Yeah,
All right, thank you for the answer.
no problem.
I figured it wasn't a lot because we've had a lot of turnover up until this previous year or so. Okay. Any other board questions or comments? If not, Jamie, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0.
All right, our next item is SEEB 8th through 12th grade health proposal number 1. Mr. Mallops.
Yeah, thank you, Superintendent Shaw. We asked the board to move to approve SEEB Proposal 1, allowing certified 8-12 health teachers the ability to discuss statistical information regarding the effectiveness of condoms to reduce the spread of sexually transmitted diseases and unplanned pregnancies.
I move to approve the SEED Proposal 1, allowing certified 8 through 12 health teachers the ability to discuss statistical information regarding the effectiveness of condoms to reduce the spread of sexually transmitted diseases and unplanned pregnancies as presented.
Support.
Board. Comments? I can go first. This obviously can be a fairly touchy subject among parents. A couple of things that everybody should be aware of. This class or this session in the health classes requires an opt-in. So any parent who wants their student to attend this portion of the health class has to actually sign a form and deliver it back to school that says they allow their student to attend this. So it's a little bit different. A lot of these programs, it would be an opt-out, which in many cases, if the student doesn't take the form home, if the parent never sees it, the teacher has to just assume that the student is approved to attend the class. In this case, it really forces the parent to look at the subject matter, and the opt-in form has a lot of detail in it so that the parent can make I guess, an educated decision whether their student wants to or should attend this class. So that part, I think, is, in my opinion, certainly makes this a more favorable approach.
I would also add that abstinence continues to be what we preach to our students as far as the best method to refrain from unwanted pregnancies.
Yeah, if I may, I would like to, I guess, to double down on that, citing policy 2414, reproductive health and family planning, the instruction shall still stress that abstinence from sex is the only protection that's 100% effective to reduce pregnancies and reduce the spread of STIs. So while this proposal would change our district from an abstinence-only district to an abstinence-based, abstinence is still first and foremost and stressed in our health class.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I do. Thanks for clarifying that we're not abstinence only no more, and it's a big change to abstinence. It's I can't say the word based. So it is a dramatic change to what has been done in Monroe Public Schools. In addition to that, I just want to mention there was a slide presentation that was presented from Mr. Malolopsy during the beginning conversations that came from the SEEB. And so I'm reading directly from that slideshow presentation. The motion says it's only going to talk about statistics. But on this slide, it says effectiveness of condoms is only when they're used correctly and consistently, and they're highly effective. So if we're only talking about statistics and we're not talking about the proper use of it, then I don't see how having these conversations is going to meet the numbers that have been predicted in here. Again, the next slide says when used correctly. So how do these students that are being educated on these statistics, how are you suggesting that they would be used correctly? Like that's what your slide says, when used correctly.
Because the statistical data is based off of when the condom is used appropriately and effectively.
Right.
So like that is the statistic. So just like you were, if the statistic was to say, if a condom wasn't unwrapped, it would be 0% effective. So that would be the statistic. So you can, that the statistical information that's provided is what you read. And that's where it ends.
But if we're talking about introducing to the students and our minors topics that talk about sexual products, that talk about the sexual statistics. So I've asked this question several times, and I don't believe I've got a complete answer. And if I did, please clarify that I did. If you talk about statistics on condom usage or condom whatever, I find it hard, and we haven't presented with the information, we haven't received it, how you can talk, and I think it was a week class, an hour a day, so that's 5 hours, how you can talk about 5 hours straight of condom statistics.
I
So
don't think anyone ever said students are receiving 5 hours of condom instruction.
it said in your slides, and it said in the last presentation, that each of these units of study would last for a week. One would be a week, and the other one would be for a week.
Sex education and HIV, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
There are far more topics relating to abstinence, risky behavior, risk reduction. The introduction of condoms as a means to prevent unwanted pregnancies and STIs is a very small portion.
So we've asked that question multiple times on what is the curriculum? We don't have a curriculum.
That was
We
provided
don't
in the
have,
board briefs.
we had a, not a full curriculum for the high school.
Everything that teachers will be using, statistics on the effectiveness of condoms has been presented to the board in board briefs.
And in the work
In a
session.
board work session on 3/11 and another one on 4/21 and another one on 5/13, as well as 2 public sessions, public hearings on 3/18 and 3/4.
Can you remind us of, was it a district school nurse or a health department official that attended one of our meetings, and she talked about how it was their process to make sure that all of the condoms that are sold in stores also have the clear, concise instructions inside those boxes?
Yes, that was a representative from the health department. We do want to make it clear, as well as the letter, there are certain things that we are not asking the board to approve, like condom distribution, and also condom demonstration, or how to put one on, so to speak. We're not asking the board to approve that. Just the statistics that will help protect students from unwanted pregnancy and the spread of STIs.
So I addressed those points in your slide, and thank you for your responses and your fill-in. I do not believe that Monroe Public Schools is in a position to take on educating on a topic that is related to children. It's related to sexual activity, and I'm not suggesting that I live in a box that kids aren't doing stuff. What I'm suggesting is that this is not that venue for the Monroe Public School System. This should be done at home, should be done in some other setting, but not in a school system. And I just can't comprehend how when we look at what we are teaching and how long it takes us to reach any of those goals that we set to goal. Like, this is the topic and this is a subject that is like, these are kids. I mean, I don't know how you want to call it. These are kids. And I just don't believe sex belongs in schools. And I guess that's just where I ended. I just don't believe sex and children belong in the school.
We're not teaching sexual intercourse in schools. And we're not teaching sexual content. Like, we're not teaching anything graphic in schools. And this is also part of a health curriculum. So we're not taking time away from math. We're not taking time away from reading. We're not taking away from any of these other subjects that students need to also have in their academic day. So something else that I would like to just reiterate is what our president said earlier. this will not be in front of any student that a family does not think is appropriate. In order for any child to have this curriculum in front of them, the parent, the guardian must sign paperwork to say that it's appropriate. So it puts families in charge of what is appropriate for their child. So that gives families and guardians and their unit the autonomy to make that decision.
So I just want to also make it clear that sex education, as we're talking about with the Sex Advisory Board, is a law in Michigan. And the reason it's a law and the reason it's not required in schools is they don't believe that this is part of a curriculum that must be taught in the schools. You have to opt in. You have to, as a board, choose to do this. So not all schools are doing this and not all schools are opting in. So I don't want to give it to the impression that this is part of a health curriculum that's being taught from every school, from every perspective. The reason it became a law, and it is very specific because of how far this can go out of alignment. And it can go outside of what the intended progress was. I remember sitting in a committee meeting, and this was early on. When was that meeting? That was like, we were still meeting in the front room, so it had to have been back in 22. When did we start? And in that meeting, the topic came up. And just in that meeting with healthcare, with professionals, the conversation went so far awry into topics and statements that were just so extreme. And so I'm suggesting that when you let something in, you can't control it. You can't control how far it goes. You can't control the questions that are going to be asked because they're students. And so they go, okay, if we're allowed to talk about condoms, well, hey, I have a question on this, and I have a question on that, and I have a question on this. So we're not abstinence only anymore. Like David said, we're abstinence based. And that is a big change, and that is a big move that we do not have to do in Monroe Public Schools.
And like, I understand that this is a really big change, and I'm not trying to minimize that. And I'm also not trying to say that this type of content, that there are some families that agree that this is not appropriate for their children. I am also not trying to say that that is not correct. But to provide the other side of that discussion is that true, difficult questions might come with this content being taught. However, we have the internet in our schools. There were many pushbacks to when the internet was first being brought into educational institutions of, it's the Wild West out there. What are we going to do to contain it? How could we possibly allow this thing to become a part of where our children are? How could we allow children to have access to this place where there's pornography, where there's profanity, where there's all these really scary things, and we've managed it. And full disclosure, we haven't managed it perfectly. When issues arise, we have systems in place to help teachers, students, families deal with issues as they arise. And that's the beauty of having teachers that have gone to school, that have specialized in this content area, because they understand how to appropriately address those questions to refer those students to their families. They know where the guardrail is. Those teachers are going to uphold this policy and expectation to say, nope, we're done. My teaching ends. That's a question for your parents. And even when I was in the classroom teaching elementary general music, I got off the wall questions, not about music. Any teachers that are sitting in the audience are shaking their heads right now. You'll be in the middle of social studies and you are gonna get a question about some random thing. And that is a moment where, as a teacher, you have to sit and say, I hear you. Thank you for sharing, but that's not something I'm going to be able to answer for you. That's when you can talk to fill in the blank, whoever takes care of you. So that is where we as a board have to make our decision, and then we have to invest in the trust and then hold our district to account to hold up what we have said in this vote, right? We can hold them to account if they're not doing what is in this motion and if it goes through and it is passed. However, teachers go through extensive training on how to handle these questions and also how to guide students back and also how to nope, that's not for us today. That's a family question. Moving on.
Yeah, in a perfect world, we wouldn't need to have this in the school system. Unfortunately, as I don't have the statistics from the presentation in front of me, but we do have, teenage pregnancies, unexpected pregnancies in this county, within our school district. And we have teens with STDs within this school district. So again, if the parents are not comfortable with what's being said in this portion of the health class, they don't have to opt in. The student will be excused from that portion of the class. They'll be assigned something else in a different classroom, a different portion, area of the school while it's being taught, and then brought back in during the normal health class. So the parent always has control of what their student can be taught.
My biggest concern about this is that once you crack that door open, we're heading down a slippery slope with this whole thing.
Right.
Okay? If I start.
Turn your mic
Oh, I
on.
beg your pardon. I got a loud mouth, so I usually don't have the mic on. We start down that slippery slope. Today, it's say, well, we're going to talk about what a condom is. Next year, the board comes back, say, well, this is how we're going to teach it. We're going to show you how to use a condom. And it's going to be one thing added on to another. Right now, we're abstinence-based. It's working just fine. I say we stay there. And the one thing about this, I can't go into too much detail with this, but we did have an incident with the teacher about the sex education classes, okay? And it made a couple of us very upset about the behavior of this individual. And so I am being asked to trust this same person that did something that I think was very, very bad. This is what I'm being asked, And the third aspect, from my point of view, is opt in right now. It sounds great. But if the board comes back next year and says, now it's opt out, and that could very easily happen. So now we're down the slippery slope of condoms, and we're down the slippery slope of, well, everybody's in. Where does it end? I think we're opening up a can of worms that I don't think any of us, at least I don't want to be involved with it. And so that's my position on this.
I would also state that the health class is a graduation requirement. The portion that we're talking about, personal life, healthy choices regarding sexual education and avoiding STIs and other diseases. We already have approved HIV, AIDS lessons. We already talk about, not myself, but our certified grade 8 to 12 health teachers already talk about what's a barrier method that is statistically proven to avoid transmitting diseases and avoiding a pregnancy, unwanted pregnancy. So we're already telling them there's this barrier method. It's some mysterious barrier method. And most of the adults in the room will say, well, what are they talking about? And some people will say, well, they're talking about condoms. So why don't we just say that condoms, when used appropriately, are statistically effective in avoiding unwanted pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases. Although we also know that abstinence is 100% effective. That's my take.
We brought up a couple of points here and everybody kind of hit on it. There are things that we teach because we're required to teach it. Someone way above us that has a position that is far beyond mine had made the decision that we should teach HIV and AIDS videos to the students. There was a process. We knew we had to do it. It wasn't a choice. So we went through the process. We looked at the videos. We chose the video that best aligned with the HIV AIDS and the abstinence only track that the Monroe Public School is on. And so, yes, we do so that because it was a requirement. Health class is a requirement, you are correct. But sex education is not a requirement. It is not something that we have to do. And when they made the law, they didn't give it to the parents. They didn't make the law and say, okay, here, parents, you get to decide whether you want your kids to learn sex education. They gave it to the Board of Education. And they said, you decide as a board if you want to take on teaching this topic to the students. And if you do, we're going to put parameters in it because of what Mary said. She said, if they're not doing it, then we hold them accountable. Well, I look at it as if someone didn't do it, then a child was exposed or something happened. And that's the slippery slope that we're heading down, Gary, that you mentioned. And when you mentioned incidents at the schools and you mentioned incidents with events of inappropriate sexual behaviors, those are very real things that happen. And they happen and they have to get addressed with. You're right, Mary, things happen. But when you open the door to this kind of a subject matter with minors, then I agree with Gary. You're opening a slippery slope that we do not have to go down because we do not have to choose this.
Mr. Malalepsi, can you, and if you don't have this information at the ready, I apologize. Can you remind us who comprises the Sex Ed Advisory Board?
Yes, ma'am. The Sex SEAB, the Sex Education Advisory Board, was established by this Board of Education, and the function of the board, the Sex Education Advisory Board, is to review our current curriculum and the current state of our sex education instruction within the health class. It is made up of a registered nurse, someone from the, actually, I'm going to open up my binder to help me out a little bit. It's made up of myself, a registered nurse, local clergy, health professionals, a teacher at each building level, 2 high school age students, parents at each building level, and elementary parents of a majority of the district's elementary schools. And it's their job to submit recommendations to the Board of Education following certain guidelines and parameters.
Do we also have a board member that sits on the SEAB, or are we just invited to attend?
We do not have any board members currently sitting on the SEAB.
Thank you.
When we talked about, and I know we've talked about this at work sessions, and anybody can go back and listen to those. Well, one of the things we talked about was the trajectory of how we got here. And sex education has not been taught at the schools, and there's a definition variance between what someone deems sex education and what someone deems health class. What has always been deemed health class is for reproductive health. We do teach HIV and AIDS because we are required to do so. But sex education, according to the law, has to be done. Create a SEAB, which was just done last year in April of 2024. The SEAB was created. And then like you said, they make recommendations to the board. This is the very first recommendation that has ever been made from a SEEB. So we do not teach sex education according to law, the way that it's written in the books, because we can't without going through the process for which the SEEB was created. Now, there was a different board here when that SEEB was created, and that was the decision they made, but we're a different board now. We don't always have to abide by what other board members have done. We can take our own trajectory, we can take our own path and say, let's focus on these things and not this. So the SEEB does not teach sex education because according to law, you can't without approval from the board.
I would respectfully refute
we know we
refute that
disagree on that.
statement, but I would like to read
Within
the,
health class, there are units.
It's
about
human reproduction. Yeah.
well, strand
approved the
7 is
videos.
sexuality education. Summarize and explain laws related to the sexual behavior of young people, compare and contrast the pros and cons and methods used for pregnancy and disease prevention, including abstinence and use of contraception. Describe routine medical screening and examinations for maintaining reproductive health and medical tests for pregnancy, HIV, and other STIs. Who should be tested, the procedures used, and the importance of early detection and care. Identify resources that provide information, counseling, testing related to relationships, sexual violence, health behaviors, influence, how stereotypes and norms and peer influence. I would respectfully say that we do currently teach strand 7 sexuality education.
So based on your thorough reading, it sounds like we've already do what you're suggesting here, except for taking it further and having a further in-depth conversation about condoms. And
Correct.
so it sounds like what you've already done is sufficient in covering it because it does hit on this. I still do not see the need why we need to have adults talking to minors about condoms. I don't see it. I see what you see and what you read. You're correct. That is teaching children responsibility. It's teaching them about the world around them. But to teach them specifically about condoms makes zero sense. But thank you for reading that.
If I might, just one last point is, the SEEB's job is just to make the recommendation to the board.
Right.
That's all they do. That's their only power, is to have the right people on there, have a conversation, present to the board, maybe not present to the board. That's what the SEEB decides to do. That's the only vehicle that any of this can ever get there. So at least by having the SEEB allows for a conversation. At the end of the day, the Board of Education makes a final decision.
I just want to emphasize one thing, and David, when he went through the SEEB board, is that roughly 40%, there are 6 parents on the SEEB. So we do have parent input into the recommendation. So this recommendation came with, I'm assuming 6 parents that, approved or were in agreement with this recommendation. Is there any further comment or questions? If not, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
No.
Mrs. Myers.
No.
Mrs. Taurasi.
No.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes. So it's a 3-3 tie, which I believe means it does not pass.
You have to have 4 yeses.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. So our next item is the SEEB 812 Health Proposal Number 2.
Thank you, Mr. President, or Superintendent Shaw. We ask the board to move to approve SEEB Proposal 2, allowing certified 812 health teachers the ability to discuss the effectiveness of the HPV vaccine as a means to combat the spread of 9 of the 40 HPV STI strands, cervical cancer, and genital warts.
Okay, do we have a motion regarding SEEB Proposal 2?
I move to approve the SEEB Proposal 2, allowing certified 8 through 12 health teachers the ability to discuss the effectiveness of the HPV vaccination as a means to combat the spread of 9 of 40 HPV STI strands, cervical cancer, and genital warts as presented.
Do we have, okay, thank you. Board member discussion, comments, questions?
I just want to review some of, I'm back to David's slides that he presented originally. When we look at the statistics and we look at the health-related issues and we look at the HPV, it says nearly 100% effective. So it's very difficult to put something that says 100% in the same word that says nearly, because 100%, the word nearly means it can't be 100%. And I have to point out the fact that all vaccines are pharmacological, that I don't believe the school should be making recommendations on what shots or vaccines that the children should be getting. I believe that's family, and I believe that is doctor-related, and I don't think beyond mentioning it as they do already in the current curriculum, correct, David? They mentioned that this vaccine is in there.
No, ma'am. What we currently do is talk about HPV as an STI. It's responsible for approximately 5% of all cancers worldwide. Cervical cancer, nearly all cancers are caused by HPV, with an estimated 660,000 new cases and 350,000 deaths globally in 2022. Oropharyngeal cancer, it's rising in prevalence, particularly among men, with HPV-16 a significant cause. Anal cancer, over 90% of cases are HPV-related, and other cancers, including penile, vaginal, and vulvar cancers. And then genital warts caused primarily by type 6 and 11. An estimated 1 in 100 sexually active adults has genital warts at any given time. So currently, we discuss HPV as an STI, and in the means to prevent it, we ask students to remain abstinent.
And I
So-
would like to correct the information that we are not telling students to go get the HPV vaccination. We are discussing the effectiveness of the HPV vaccination. It ultimately would be up to the parents and their healthcare provider to instruct them further.
If I can add that with the verbiage that David and I agreed on, and I'll just read it, this paragraph. There are several vaccines available for treating the HPV virus with documented effectiveness on 9 of 40 known HPV viruses. Potential side effects, both minor and serious, have been documented in patients due to the vaccine. As with any vaccine, please consult with your personal physician before proceeding with an HPV vaccine regimen. So that will be part of the verbiage when they discuss the vaccine.
Same with the condoms. We're not telling the students to go use them. We are telling them merely about the statistics, which was voted down.
Bobby Kennedy was out, Secretary Bobby Kennedy Jr. was out with a video this week. And he said,
Is there any way to keep politics out of this?
no,
Is it-
he's the head of the
Health.
CDC, I think it's
No.
CDC.
Health and Human Services.
Health and Human
I
Services.
stand corrected. No, this isn't political, but he came out as the head of Health and Human Development. He said, these vaccines are the single most dangerous vaccine that a child can get. His words. I want no part of that.
Additional questions, comments? Hearing none. Jamie, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
No.
Mrs. Myers.
No.
Mrs. Taurasi.
No.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and again, a 3-3 vote, the motion fails.
All right. So next on our agenda is the extension of the Sodexo food service contract. Mrs. Shook.
Thank you, Superintendent Shaw. Tonight, we're asking the board to move to extend the food service management contract of Sodexo for the 2025-2026 school year.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I will move to extend the food service management contract of Sodexo for the 25-26 school year.
Do we have support?
Support.
Any discussion, comments, or questions? Hearing none. Jamie, can we have roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Myers.
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi.
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent.
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 7-0.
Next up is our furniture.
6-0.
6-0.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me.
Furniture purchase, Mrs. Joseph.
Thank you, Superintendent Shaw. Tonight, we ask the board to move to approve the purchase of furniture for K-6 elementary buildings in an amount not to exceed $275,000. This will be funded from the general fund.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase for K through 6 elementary buildings in an amount not to exceed $275,000 for furniture.
Do we have support?
Support.
Discussion, questions?
I'm going to ask the same question I ask every single time. Is this part of the redesign? And it will be included in the redesign budget, which we need to see, by the way.
So as far as the materials in this item right here is when we made the moves with Waterloo, and so some of it, I guess, roundabout way, yes, because of the redesign and not having teachers on cart. So when classrooms went to other buildings, a lot of the furniture went along, and so then when we made the decision to have no carts, so everyone has a classroom, the furniture stays put. And so that's part of the rationale right there, is that so those classrooms now that we had before, like for your art and your tech, those rooms are being furnished with a lot of those materials. So in a roundabout way, yes, but it's also because we're putting teachers in classrooms that hadn't been in classrooms before.
If
Many
I could-
class- Oh.
If I could add maybe a little bit more onto that. So we are asking the board to approve an amount not to exceed $275,000. There's an amount of $203,500 almost, I believe, that is specifically targeted to purchase furniture for Waterloo Elementary. And that is the scenario that Andy just talked about, where when we initiated the Waterloo pause, the classroom furniture that was at Waterloo went to the other buildings to support that increase in enrollment. And so now that we have the students going back to Waterloo, we've also made it so that Encore teachers now have classes of their own. Buildings have opportunities to create an intervention room so that students can receive small group instruction in an actual classroom instead of in the hallway. So that furniture is going to stay in those elementary buildings. But then we also have Arborwood South, which is now going to become a 5-6 building. So a lot of the furniture that is currently in the elementaries that is designed for older, bigger children is going to go to Arborwood. So we've gone room by room with the principals for every single classroom in this district, in the elementary schools. And we have found that there will be a few additional needs. So when we think about Arborwood South, which is the building that we designated a certain amount of money for with the redesign, when we have classrooms that have tables, we try to buy tables that can be lowered and raised. So in rooms at Arborwood where there's tables that now currently serve smaller children, those tables can be raised up for bigger children to be able to sit at, but we're going to have a shortage of chairs. I don't know right now exactly how many chairs that's going to be. So we asked the board to approve an amount in excess of just the Waterloo furniture cost, so that over the summer, we have the ability to just purchase the furniture that we need. In this case that I'm referring to, specifically chairs for older children, without having to wait to come to the board to seek approval for that amount, because we know that by the time we have a board meeting and it gets approved and then we order the furniture, we just don't want to, not be able to have it in August when kids will be coming in for open house.
So do we know how much is specifically targeted for Waterloo and how much is the excess right now, or is it just?
Yeah.
Because this is a specific list.
Yeah, so it's 203,000.
Like $427.71.
Thank you.
And so you're saying the
For
other
the-
60,000 you're setting aside for future purchases?
It could be.
72,000.
It could be. I do not know, Darla, to tell you the truth, what exactly some additional needs might be. Like I said, we just asked for an amount in excess of what we knew the Waterloo purchase was going to be, so that we had the flexibility to purchase furniture as we needed it.
Go ahead, Cassie. I know you
Sorry,
got
if I
something
can-
coming.
If I can just add on, the reason we don't know exactly what we need is because we haven't removed the furniture from the classrooms that are still being used for the next day and a half, plus some of the buildings for summer school. So we wanted to have like an amount that we can utilize as the operations department is moving things around and the teachers are seeing what's in their room and what's missing from their room, that we can just go ahead and place those orders once we find what's needed.
Right.
We don't know how many things
Right.
need to be replaced until we're actually moving things around.
No, I completely understand that. I'm just, how did we come up with the number that would be the sufficient amount that would be needed? That was my main point in all of this is, that it's such a random number. So maybe it's not so random and you all know it, but
I know we were looking at a round-ish number that we wanted to have the board not to exceed. And I know Mr. Payne and Ms. Joseph have seen what the items are costing for the Waterloo piece. So that gives us enough of a wiggle room to hopefully we won't need that much, but we wanted to have enough just in case, because we just don't, until the kids are out and we can start moving
No, I
stuff, we just
understand
don't know
that.
what the condition is of
Yeah.
things.
And we already have about 5 classrooms. We know we're going to need either, like Ms. Joseph said, chairs or table combinations. So I agree with Cassie. Once we start moving, which we'll start Thursday, we'll have a better idea. So hopefully by the end of next week or the week after, we can start ordering. Because depending on what you order, you're looking at 5 to 8 weeks.
well, you've already put it in, the 203 is already gone, right? Yeah, so you're only looking at the remaining for the other, right?
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Okay, any other further questions or comments? If not, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, the motion passes 6-0.
All right, Mr. Payne, 24/7 program purchase.
Thank you, Superintendent Shaw. We're asking the board to approve the purchase of the following 24/7 program equipment from CDWG and Apple at a cost not to exceed $346,601, and this would be funded by the 31A in the district technology budget.
Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the purchase of the following 24/7 program purchase from CDWG and Apple at a cost not to exceed $346,601.
Do we have support? Support. Discussion, comments, questions from the board?
You sent out I don't know if it was an email or in your newsletter or something, and it was talking about the Chromebooks. And it was talking about the returning of the Chromebooks and making sure all the chargers and what. And it made me think about that when I heard that, because is the intent to switch back to Apple? Is that what this purchase is for? Because it said to get them ready for next year. And I'm like, well, I didn't think that was the plan. So I was kind of confused by your statement.
Two separate things. That email was, we're going to, starting next year, if the board approves, part of this purchase would be purchasing carts to leave a charging station in each classroom. So what we want to do is pick up those devices before the students leave. So we have the summer to fix, repair, test, and then redistribute them based on the redesign and the students. This is a pilot. We chose Waterloo because it's a smaller building, and we are looking at the possibility of moving K4 now back to an iPad. What we're trying to look at the feasibility, if we can, is to get a device to last 5 years to help reduce costs. Right now with Chromebooks, after year 3, we start to see major degrading of the batteries. They're just not handling the wear and tear. So we're hoping by keeping them, and the principals requested
to keep them in the classroom unless the teacher requests them to go home, instead of always going home and staying the opposite. So we're hoping that'll help on damages as well. But Mr. Hauser is here as well, and he's done a lot of research with Troy schools, a couple other districts that have went iPads K-12 and have actually shown that it's a better quality device, we feel. We switched away from, I'll be honest with you, Chromebooks were purchased due to cost. It had nothing to do with anything else but cost. The other reason is once we started moving towards the M-STEP, the keyboard became a factor. So we dropped down to second grade. It gave students a year to get used to the keyboard before they began the testing. But now with some of the newer cases and the integration, the keyboard's not an issue. So we would like to really pilot this ecosystem at Waterloo to see, and then next year, before making any more major purchases, take that information into account to make a final decision. This also includes training to where people will be leapfrogging into classrooms and helping the teachers integrate this technology into their curriculum to better utilize it. So we're hoping to get some different data before we make a large purchase. So this would be the only purchase we would make this year, and to try to use all of our parts and all of our spare devices to get us through until we made a bigger purchase in probably after the first of the year to make a recommendation.
So cost has been a big thing. Expenditures have been a big thing. There's not an endless supply of money. You know, money's not flowing in like it was. So I heard, it sounds like you said that this is for Waterloo, to pilot at Waterloo. So it's $350,000.
No. So
I'm asking, he said it was a pilot at Waterloo.
Part of the purchase is the iPad, the pilot, but part of it also is carts that will be K-6.
Didn't we buy carts before?
We did buy some smaller carts to put under the teacher desk to give them like a 10, it was like a 10-port charging station.
Right.
This would actually accommodate either iPads or Chromebooks in up to, I think, 30 or 32.
On
So,
each cart.
mhm.
And how many carts are included in this purchase?
I'd have to check. It's going to be one for all. This will handle K6.
I guess my question is, how much are we spending on the pilot? I guess
Oh,
that's the
100
moral.
It would be 100 and, I want to say 80,000.
160,
Let's see,
like
yeah.
$166,401.
So if that would show success, there would be an anticipation that that would be a multiplier in each of the classrooms in the schools.
Depending on what part of that we decided to go with.
Do you see how the numbers are just going higher and higher and higher and
But
higher?
we would already have to do something if we buy more Chromebooks. This is just to try something different to see if
Yeah.
we can get longevity.
If there was an endless pool of money, I would be like jumping on board with you too, but I understand why certain boards made decisions when they did, and it might have been based on cost. And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't switch to Apple. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just suggesting that, you know, we're looking at 350 and 275 just sitting here in two votes.
Well, and
What are we
normally
getting for our
spend-
money and what are we spending on?
And normally we come to the board yearly and ask for 400, 500, 600,000 to do 2 or 3 classroom refreshes.
Well, you did.
Not yet.
It's coming.
Well, we will. That's what I'm saying. So this money,
Because you told me we have to spend $600,000 approximately every year to refresh our current technology. So this is on top of that.
But what he's also
Yeah.
saying though is that.
This is carts and a thing.
this is we wouldn't replace what we just purchased for Waterloo. We would just either add to it or come back and say, you know what, it's not worth it. We're going to stick with Chromebooks. This would just be a subset.
What he's really trying to figure out is how to get more, control that cost and get more years out of devices. And
Oh, I understand that.
but if we don't take a look at the iPads and see if that is a good option, we're not gonna know, then we're just recycling and staying with Chromebooks and
iPads.
Like I said, if we had tons of money and we could do all of that, I'm like, okay, let's do this. Let's get the desk. Let's do a pilot. Let's switch to Apple. Let's switch all of that. But
This would actually, if this is deems the way we think it will and the way other school districts have used it as well, this would actually save us money. Because right now, we're buying Chromebooks, and after year 3, we have to either buy another one or we have to put a used one that a student dropped. So it's costing us more money if this works and we can actually get 5 years on a device while not taking away from the experience of the student, this is actually going to save us money. We just want to try it on a smaller scale to make sure, indeed, yes, we
Oh, I
get the same
understand that.
results.
Oh, I totally understand that. I totally get that. You know, I just always think we always have to be looking at it.
So I think, David, as far as Waterloo, you're going to have to buy devices for Waterloo anyway.
Or a certain amount. Normally, we would
Certain
say we
amount.
would want all incoming second graders get a new device,
Yeah.
incoming seventh graders, not 10th graders, whatever that refresh was. What we're saying is we have enough spares that we can hold off for 6 months. Let's try this smaller purchase, see how the iPads go, and then make a recommendation in December, or January to see what the recommendation would be.
So you're not going to bring a refresh up
Not in-
for the next 6 months?
No.
Okay, so I'm thinking that's happening simultaneously with
No,
all of this. Okay,
There's two different refreshes that we usually recommend. So this is a yearly thing for our student devices. And then once every 4 to 5 years, which will be next spring, if the millage passes, we would then do a classroom refresh. So that would come in the spring. The device for the students would come probably around December or January, based on funding with Cassie, to get the rest of, we would say, let's do K3, let's do K2, and then over the next 3 years, we would try to come up with a new cycle based on iPads if they deem successful.
okay. Thank you, because I'm thinking everything's happened at the same
Nope,
time.
nope, nope.
Thank you
This
for
is a
that.
small little baby step first.
Thank you.
I'll ask this question, David, although it's probably a Cassie question. So the funding's coming out of 31A and the technology budget. Do you know how much is coming out of 31A?
Roughly 30 to 40%, depending on where the numbers fall. The last she told me, but that could change. So
Right. Oh,
Okay.
she left.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good enough number for me. Okay, any further questions or comments? If not, Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0.
All right, Mr. Payne, you're still up to bat. Asbestos abatement purchase.
And thank you. We're asking the board to approve the purchase of the following asbestos abatement from Adrian Environmental LLC at a cost not to exceed $32,500, and this would come from the site sinking fund.
Thank you, David. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the purchase of the asbestos abatement from Adrian Environmental LLC, not to exceed $32,500 from the site sinking fund.
Do we have support?
Support.
Discussion, questions from board members? Hearing none. Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0.
And our last item is fire alarm testing and inspection purchase, Mr. Payne.
Thank you, Superintendent Shaw. We're asking the board to approve the purchase of the following fire alarm testing and inspections from Johnson Controls at a cost not to exceed $16,187.47. The operations general fund budget would fund this purchase.
Thank you, David. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the purchase of the fire alarm testing and inspection from Johnson Controls at a cost not to exceed $16,187.47 from the operations general fund.
Do we have support?
Support.
Discussion, questions from any board members? Hearing none. Jamie, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Myers,
Yes.
Mrs. Taurasi,
Yes.
Mrs. Vincent,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Heck.
Yes, and the motion passes 6-0. And that completes our new business. Old business, as we have no old business tonight, I'll turn it over to Superintendent Shaw for his comments.
All right, so 2 graduations down, 1 more to go. This Thursday night, over at the National Battlefield, we'll have our Learning Bank graduation, and so that will be our last one for this year. Last day of school is June the 12th, half day of school. I might as well do it to all the kids that are listening out there. First day of school is September the 2nd. Somebody did say, though, that it is like 88 days away. Yeah. So there we go, 88 days from, I'm hoping that's June 12th, not today. We're gonna go June 12th. 88 days from June 12th. We're back. Summer meals. Our food service partners at Sodexo will be offering on-site meals at the Monroe County Community College beginning next Monday. Through the City of Monroe Parks offering tot lot programs beginning June 23rd. And then also we'll have 7-day meal bags to go. Cassie and I had the opportunity today to go on to WJR. They're doing they had some different groups in interviewing about summer programs, so we will talk about that today. That should air right around, right after the 4th of July. We'll make sure that's published highly, so everyone can hear Cassie speak.
You said
on that.
just before or just after the 4th.
Yeah. So
So
that will
be
come out right
vague about
there.
it.
We will tune in.
But we're very thankful for the work that Sodexo does at continuing the meals for our students throughout the summer. It is vital for our kids. And the cool thing is, though, that is anyone under any person under the age of 18 can go. So it doesn't matter. You just have to be under the age of 18. And so we'll just keep publicizing that out there. Then summer office hours. So Monroe High School, Monroe Middle School, and the administrative building will move to a 4-day work week beginning June 23rd through August the 7th. And staff will work those extended hours. And then Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 4:30. So that's all I have tonight, sir.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Shaw. Public commentary, any subject. Carrie, do we have any?
Yvonne, did you have any follow-up for us? Thank you.
9 o'clock.
You wore her out. Appreciate that, Yvonne. Thank you.
Okay, board member comments. Any board member wish to make some comments?
Yes, so earlier this evening, we had a presentation about restorative practices, PBIS, SEL in our school district. And there were just two big takeaways that I had from the presentation. The first was at Monroe High School. I think the program that they have that uses Canvas to provide students opportunities to kind of learn about how their behaviors are impacting not only their trajectory, but also impacting other people. And then it incorporates their parents, guardians in the follow-up process. I think that's really genius because it allows them a really meaningful way to kind of connect restorative practices to PBIS in a way that also doesn't take away instructional time from teachers. In addition to this, it's using a platform that is used in many higher education institutions, as well as a lot of like professional development for professional staff. So it's not only doing all these wonderful things for restorative practices, PBIS, ACL, all of that, but it's also secretly like almost job training at the same time. So I think that that's brilliant. And then just in general, just to kind of like throw this out there, both at Michigan State and at the University of Michigan, restorative practices is being utilized in the residence halls. So all resident advisors, RAs, are taught restorative practices strategies, and they are used in the residence halls to help RAs help residents navigate conflict and then kind of take ownership and move forward as a community. Just thought I would like to share that because it's not only the program that was mentioned earlier, but it's also being used for peers to help mitigate the conflicts that arise, you know, when you move into a res hall for the first time ever and you're like, freedom, and then you're like, but wait, not really. So just wanted to share that because I think it's really impressive what we're doing, and I think that we're really starting to yield the results of the hard work that we've invested.
Thank you, Mary. Any other board members?
I enjoyed the presentations, and I'm glad that you guys have included transportation in that.
If I can add something to that, because the numbers on transportation were very dramatic. Based on, I think, the training in that with the drivers, a 67% reduction in referrals. I mean, that's been since I've been on the board, some of the parental complaints I've got is what's going on the buses, and to see that and see the effectiveness of this, the PBIS instruction has been great. Hopefully, we can maintain that.
I'm just,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just want to reiterate, we were given a lot of information, we were given a lot of data. There was a lot presented tonight in the total package of, I don't know if you call the whole thing SEL, social emotional learning, or it's pockets or whatever it is. But the presentations were so informative that I do think there's drill down that, and things that, from a board perspective, questions that we'd ask, we could maybe seek, I know someone requested more data points, and maybe break that down, so the next time, or whatever, we can do that. So I'm requesting again that be on a work session. Monday night, Tuesday night, there's probably not gonna be enough time. That was a lot of information.
Anybody else? If not, I want one more comment, because I wish there was more public, more community members here, but we got an interesting letter in the mail. I think all the board members, for those of us who've been in Monroe for a while.
Oh, I forgot about
And unfortunately, it was from an anonymous source, and actually, I wish the source would have put their name on it, because it's a great, in my opinion, a great idea. They're recommending that we rename Arborwood North and South back to their original names, making Arborwood North Hollywood Elementary and Arborwood South Cantrick 5-6. So interesting. Again, I don't know why they did it anonymously, because I think it's a great idea, but something for us to think about.
I'm sorry, I still call it Cantrick.
So if there's nothing else, that really concludes our agenda for this evening. The next regular Board of Education meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, and begin at 7 p.m. with a work session that will begin at 5:30 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have support?
Support.
Show of hands. Thank you.
Let's go home. Take care, everybody.
Okay, the Monroe Public,
66 degrees to 70.
I know. Monroe Public Schools Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 is adjourned, and the time is 9:07.